Welcome to Module 3, Lesson 1. Now that you know how to create your own custom GPTs, you're probably asking yourself, what type of GPT should I create? And how do I create ones that people want to buy? And the best place to start is by identifying mundane, repetitive, and really boring processes in your work or your life that are ripe for automation, because those are the ones that people don't want to do. They want to use a tool to help fix those. And there's a whole host of new things that can be automated with custom GPTs. These are also a great starting point because they allow you to get your feet wet and they're familiar. All too often, I see people putting too high of a bar on themselves to create something novel and amazing. Don't do that to yourself. Start with the familiar to start building your GPT muscle. And P.S., many times these type of GPTs are the super valuable ones because other people have the same mundane, repetitive, and boring tasks or processes or things they have to do. Another great place to start is in ChatGPT. Use it for one of the things it's best at, which is helping you brainstorm. So let's go through a little example here. Let's say you're an experienced HR professional with 30 years of experience. Come up with 5 GPT ideas that HR professionals would race to pay for to help make their lives easier. Remember, use personas here, get very specific into the type of GPT you're wanting to build, and it will very quickly come up with 5 great ideas. And we got 5 cool ideas here. Automated employee onboarding system, that's kind of cool. Dynamic performance review assistant. We've actually started creating some of these at work, and it's saving hours of time. Interactive policy and compliance advisor, AI-driven employee engagement and wellness monitor, AI recruitment and talent acquisition tool. So let's say number 5 looks great. Let me know what custom instructions I should include in this GPT, right? And then you take it further. You can get custom instructions. You can start to actually think about how you would build this GPT going further. So it's comprehensive resume parsing and analysis, bias-free candidate screening, dynamic job matching algorithm, automated initial interviewing process. So a lot of really cool things in here. And let's also say, what data should I include in my knowledge base? And it'll also give you some good ideas here, candidate information, job descriptions, industry-specific data. So you get the idea. You can actually use ChatGPT as a thought starter, right? It's a great tool. Let's use it to actually help us create GPT ideas that will sell. And on the topic of industry and domain, another good starting point is starting in your own industry or past industry domains that you've worked in before. You know those better than most. And while it may seem basic to you because you're so deep in the industry, you're the expert in this space. So you're going to be the best person to start to think of GPTs that you could build in this area. The other great thing is you probably have a network in the space that you could sell these GPTs to, right? These are the people that are going to want to use them and buy them. So leverage your industry knowledge, your industry networks, and your domain knowledge there. The last great point I'll give you is go to the GPT store. Go see what OpenAI has already built. See what other people have built. That's a great way to get inspiration for how people are using GPTs. All too often, you may see one idea here and another idea here, and what'll happen is it'll spark a completely different idea for yourself of something you want to build. So go into the GPT store, just make it a habit, daily habit, going through, seeing what's out there, using some of the GPTs, start playing with them, see how people are using them, interacting with them. This will also give you ideas of how to improve your GPT. Also look at how people are positioning the GPT. This is a big piece to selling. You got to have a clear and compelling value prop. Now, idea generation is only half the battle. While the ability to create a custom GPT is new and novel technology, spoiler alert, the principles of strategy, positioning, and differentiation still very much apply to creating a solid value prop that will sell. On top of that, this new technology has completely democratized AI for the masses, giving anyone with an internet connection the ability to create their own GPT, which means the bar just got a whole lot lower, really to a historic low of people that can enter the market. And not to mention how good a job OpenAI did in terms of making it extremely frictionless to create a GPT. You don't need to know how to code like with the App Store when you were developing apps. The barriers to entry are extremely low, so that means the bar is higher for you to create a compelling GPT, and it has to have a compelling value prop. And this is where the principles of strategy, positioning, and differentiation start to come into play. Now, I have a deep background in strategy, positioning, and product, so I'll give you some tips I've learned along the way, as well as a few resources you should check out. The first key to coming up with any great product is starting with the problem your target user is having, which means you need to know your target user very well. Talk to them, interview them, watch how they work, get in their minds. This is one of the most important things to understanding the pain points that your target user has. My single favorite approach to take here is jobs to be done. And this focus is purely on what job your target customer is hiring your product to help them make progress with. So for example, a job could be to relax on your break from work. Now you could hire Facebook to do that, or you could hire a cigarette, right? This is super interesting because these are two seemingly unrelated things, and actually they're competitors. So just think about that for a second. So a very interesting concept to kind of ingrain in your brain. And in the jobs to be done framework, the key is understanding the user's forces of progress. And there's a few different categories to consider. The first one is the push of pain from their current situation. So what pain is pushing them to find another solution or find a different way of doing something? And this is big for your GPTs, right? So people do experience a lot of pain that they never knew they could solve before. Now that this new tool exists, we got to open their minds to this, okay? The second is the pull of new ways to resolve their problems. Again, great use case for GPT. We have a new tool that didn't exist before. And I'll give you another example. So a good example of a job is communicating with another human. In the beginning, you would send it by Pony Express. It would travel that way via a letter. And then the phone came out and you could talk to somebody on a phone. And then email came out and you could talk to somebody via email, then texting and so on and so forth. The job never changed. The way of executing it, the tool did, right? We have a new tool that's going to make things easier, and that's your GPT. So think about this in regards to discovery and how people are finding new ways to solve their problem. Hint, hint, it's your GPT. So that's the push and the pull of progress. Now on the flip side, you can have friction preventing them from wanting to try your new GPT. The first one is anxiety. Anxiety of a new solution. And that manifests in terms of the end user asking themselves lots of questions of, should I be doing this? Should I be thinking about this alternative? They really start second guessing themselves. It's a real thing. Anxiety prevents buyers from making decisions. I mean, half the time that your biggest competitor is indecision, especially when it comes to a new technology. And the last piece here that creates friction is habit. That is the status quo, people. We've always done it this way and we'll always continue to do it this way. And that will be one of your biggest hurdles because using a GPT is extremely new. Now, while you may be fully invested into creating GPTs, you get the value, you're all in, the general public doesn't. They may not even know what it is. So that is another hurdle, the hurdles of anxiety and then habit. The last main tenet of making progress in the jobs to be done theory is people don't magically wake up one day and decide, hey, I need a GPT. They move through specific stages of progress through their awareness of what will solve their problem. And those stages are unaware, where they have no idea that they even have a problem. And the next stage is problem aware. Now they're starting to understand, okay, I do have this problem. I don't know how to fix it, but I know I got a problem. Next is solution aware. Now they're starting to identify and understand some different solutions to their problem. Product aware, they're actually seeing the specific solution. So this could be your GPT that solves their problem. And then most aware, they're looking at actually making a buying decision. So this is important to know that people progress through a buying cycle. So understanding where they are in that cycle is important in terms of how you communicate to them and how you pitch or talk about the value prop of your GPT. Now, the best way to get all of this insight is to interview and talk with your target customers. And I'll drop a link in the comments to get a great overview of how to facilitate a jobs to be done interview. Now that you deeply understand your target customer's problem and you have developed this amazing GPT to help solve it, you got to think about how you position it. And my favorite person to follow in this area is April Dunford. So go give her a follow, check out some of her videos. I'll drop one of them in the comments as well. But she has a very specific framework that breaks down to a few different stages. And the first one is you have to understand what are your competitive alternatives that exist in the market. So essentially, if you didn't exist, what would your customers use? Are there 10 other GPTs just like yours that someone can use? Or are they solving their problem today in a very painful way? Maybe they're doing something in Excel. So this sets context for how your customer thinks about alternatives. Second, you got to define the key unique attributes of your GPT. So what features of your GPT are truly unique to yours that alternatives do not have? This is kind of the building blocks of what makes you unique, differentiated, and defensible. Third, and probably the most important, is what enabling value do those features provide? So back to jobs to be done theory, how are you helping them make progress when they hire your GPT? Positioning on value is where you can really start to pull the levers in the buyer's brain that makes them want to act. Next, you have to be clear on what customers actually care a lot about the value your GPT provides. And this hits on a critical concept. You cannot position your GPT to everybody because then it will attract nobody. You have to be very targeted in the type of customers you're going after and speak to their problem, their pain point, their progress they're looking to make, and position your GPT as the clear and only choice to solve that problem. So that's why I mentioned before, it's so good to start in an industry you're comfortable with, that you have a network in, because you understand it. You understand their pain points. It's a great starting point when you're building a GPT. The last thing to note is the concept of differentiation and defensibility. You need to ensure your GPT is not only differentiated and unique in the market, but you also need to ensure it's defensible, which is especially hard with custom GPTs because the friction is so low to create your own GPT, which means others can also create them easily as well. They can also replicate them as well. And I think this is going to be one of the hardest aspects of the GPT store and creating ones that are truly differentiated and unique. But like we talked about before, that's where your unique custom instructions, and more specifically your unique data and what systems you're connecting to via APIs, become extremely critical in creating a defensible GPT with a moat around it. If these things are unique, you'll have a GPT that will sell and that people will value and that will become part of their daily habits, their daily lives, their daily rituals. And that's what you want, okay? When you have a GPT like that, that's one that people are going to refer to their friends. They're going to send the link to. They're going to say, hey, you got to try this thing out. It's saving me so much time, money, headaches, whatever pain point it is solving. Your action item for this lesson is go check out some of the people I talked about. April Dunford's a great resource. Check out the jobs to be done theory. Give it a Google. Check out the video I provided. If you want to go deep into strategy too, I love the book Playing to Win. The Playing to Win framework is one you can Google. And the other book is Good Strategy, Bad Strategy. No matter what new technology comes out, the core principles of strategy, positioning, differentiation, all these things will always hold true. So they're very important to learn. And as always, if you're finding value in this course, tell your friends, your colleagues, family, whoever. And if you can, give us a testimonial. We appreciate it.